Hello everybody, Dr. Rob Silverman here. Tuesday, how is everybody doing with this conversation about COVID-19? My goodness, it has swept the world, swept the conversation, and we're going to talk about some things that are really important to immune resilience. I don't want to keep using just talk about COVID-19. I want to talk about some specific things that help us with our immune system. But first, again, our affiliate today, you guys are watching and I really appreciate it. Let's thank Creator Chiropractic Clinic, PC, in Medford, Oregon. My two good friends, Dr. Mike Powell and Dr. Mike Warren, they are opening up and sharing right now. So all those people who are listening, Dr. Powell, Dr. Warren's patients, my followers, and anybody else, please feel free to ask questions. Say hi. Let's converse. We're allowed to talk socially. We just need physical distancing. So please feel free to reach out. Love to talk to you. Love to converse with you. We're going to talk about a few different things. The first thing is, interestingly enough, yesterday they talked about the genetic predisposition and how genes may play a role towards COVID-19. In that we already know about the comorbidities. If you're heavy, if you have a blood sugar dysregulation or diabetes, if you have COPD, cardiovascular disease, possibly cancer, age, anything that's immune compromised, you're more susceptible. The older you get, the more susceptible you get also. But we hear a lot about something called ACE2 receptors. ACE2 receptors are receptors most commonly seen in the lung. They're also seen in the gut, liver, and the kidney. What they found out, if you have a genetic predisposition in their tests coming out, for your ACE2 receptor to be stickier, you obviously will have a worse outcome and you're more susceptible to that S protein spike. So something as an FYI, as some of these things come out, as we race towards seeing if a drug works, as we race towards seeing if a vaccine works, and as we talked about yesterday, some antibody tests which are going through FDA approval right now, we'll see about that. However, there is an interesting, once as I said before, genetic component. However, let's talk about something that you and everybody out there can control, and that's sleep. Grandma was right. A good night's sleep can do a lot of good things. Very common, I got all my notes here, very common that people forget to get a good night's sleep. 7 to 8 hours is critical. It not only resets you, it resets your immune system. They found from good quality sleep, again, within that 7 to 8 hour realm, you get an extreme amount or a release of melatonin. Now, so many people have talked about melatonin getting better sleep. What we don't realize about melatonin, it's also great for an immune system, and it also helps against any kind of lung and cytokine storm. So increasing our own natural melatonin is wonderful. We can always supplement with melatonin. We're now talking about supplementing with melatonin for 20 milligrams. But sleep is critical. It resets your immune system. It resets your immune system because by resetting your immune system, it allows for things to come out which are called natural killer cells and T cells. They're both within what we call your innate immune system. Your innate immune system is your first system that people can use to prevent any kind of attack from what we call pathogens. And remember, viruses are a pathogen. It helps to fight infections when we get good quality sleep. And remember, once again, I want to reiterate that. Sleep's not just so you recover. It allows your immune system to recover. Missed sleep, what are some of the reasons? Well, you get up in the middle of the night. Some people get up in the middle of the night. Believe it or not, a couple of the main reasons they get up is they're hypoglycemic. So they may be hypoglycemic and maybe eating too much sugar. We're all stressed out. We're home. There's so much food. All we want to do is eat, manja, if you will. And we're eating too much sugar. Eating too much sugar, it can make us hypoglycemic. In addition to that, we may be missing a meal. We may not eat appropriately. So we do want to do time restrictive eating and intermittent fasting. You want to eat within the windows. But your window may be so small that you get hungry at night and it wakes you up. That also poses an issue. So the window of the time restrictive eating that I like is eat in a 10-hour window, finish between 6 and 8 o'clock at night, and try to go to sleep before 12. One of the biggest keys to getting a good night's sleep is not to go to bed too late. In addition to that, what are some of the other reasons that people wake up in the middle of the night? They have to go to the bathroom. They've got to urinate. Well, here's some of the reasons why you may have to go to the bathroom. You're eating a high salt diet. More so than that, you may be eating a high salt diet later at night in your last meal, and then you're going to grab the water and you're going to have to get rid of it. So avoid high salt diets, clearly, and avoid them in the evening. There's other reasons that people have to go to the bathroom. Some people may have a prostate issue. In addition, something from our chiropractic world, Dr. Warren, Dr. Powell, myself, we're chiropractors. You can have weak pelvic floor muscles. So those muscles are weak. They're not holding the particular area in place. They're not providing tension. And because there's not tension in the pelvic floor near your bladder, you need to urinate a little bit more. It's more common in women, postpartum, and women who've had multiple pregnancies and deliveries, but it is found in men a lot more than most people would think in the literature. So pelvic floor exercises, and if people ask, I'm very happy to add, we can add a video. I work with web exercises. We can add a video to the comment section if some people request it, and we'll pass it out through all our patients for some pelvic floor exercises. The big thing that I want to talk about, sleep loss and its effect on the brain. When you sleep, you detox your brain. Your brain shrinks. Dr. Perlmutter got a great book called it Brainwash. I love the idea of the brain shrinking at night, squeezing all the toxins out. Not a good night's sleep. Not only bad for immune system, everything runs through your brain. I'll say that again. Everything runs through the brain. So you want your brain in perfectly functioning order. You want your brain to detox. It detoxes all its toxins at night. Some of those toxins are like amyloid and tau, which if you don't get a good night's sleep, leads you down a path of Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative disease. But for the matter at hand, sleep loss impairs what we call our blood-brain barrier. Our gut has a barrier. You've heard me talk about it a multitude of times. Our brain has a barrier. It's called our blood-brain barrier. It's a single-layer epithelial cell that incorporates our brain, doesn't touch our pituitary gland. A blood-brain barrier is made up of the same proteins and structures as our gut. It's very thin. It's the thickness of a wet paper towel. It actually, the reason they call it the blood-brain barrier is that it filters blood with the brain. If we don't get a good night's sleep, we get damage to our blood-brain barrier. Damage to our blood-brain barrier allows toxins in our brain, damaging our brain, not allowing our immune system to function quite as well. So sleep is a big picture. Everybody can start getting a better night's sleep starting now. Some of the other things that the docs and I talked about that we wanted to cover today was the hydration. So we've always heard you need to get hydrated. You need to drink water. Never more important. Hydration is a critical element because if you're not hydrated, you'll become obviously dehydrated, and dehydration puts a stress on your immune system. How do you become hydrated? Well, water. At least half your body in ounces. So if you're a 200-pound person, 100 ounces of water, not including exercise, which we know you're all doing every day now. So at the end of the day, if you will, what I usually recommend is about 3/4 ounces pertaining to body weight. So if that same 200-pound person, they should be drinking about 150 ounces. Now you're looking at me and saying, that's too much. I'm going to run to the bathroom. I'm going to be, urinating all day long. Well, not necessarily. If you drink the water throughout the day, 8 to 12 ounces per hour, you're probably not going to expand your bladder that much where you're going to run so profusely to the lavatory. And of course, if you're a smaller, 120-pound person, you're probably looking at 80, 85 ounces. When you do that math, maybe 6 to 8 ounces per hour, you don't have any problems. You're not going to be running. We need to drink. It's not abnormal to go to the bathroom. So some of the dehydration also, if you're not drinking enough, damages your immune system. The big one is, as I wrote down in my notes, is that the water really is needed to help with the lymph system. We talked about the lymph system a little bit yesterday. So lymphs flush out a lot of toxins. What are the things that you may want to avoid that will dehydrate you? Excessive coffee, excessive tea, soda, and of course the big thing at night, we found out, I told you guys yesterday, liquor stores were essential, alcohol. So once again, too much coffee, too much tea, too much soda, too much alcohol, that's going to leave you down a path needing to be dehydrated. and urinating excessively. I know we have a question.
There are so many smart waters out there. Do you have a preference?
That's a great question. There's so many smart waters. Well, here we go. So I live in New York. So we know we're in a hotbed, the epicenter, if you will. But in New York, our water is really good. It's fluorinated and chlorinated. Well, it's not really chlorinated. It's fluorinated, and it's good water. So the water that I like best is natural water. If it's alkaline, even better. And I prefer it not in a bottle because there's still BP something in it. I prefer it sort of like in the cardboard, like a Flow, if you will. I own no stock in Flow, full disclaimer. But that kind of water is the water of choice. Cool water, add a lemon to it in the morning. Great way to start the day. Do we have any other questions?
No.
Okay, feel free to ask those questions, engage. If you're on Dr. Mike Crater Chiropractic, you have to write it in mine so our staff can see it, because if it's on theirs, we can't see it till afterwards, and then I'll have to answer it later.
What do you think of power naps, or is that a reflection of low cortisol?
Great question about power naps. So, and cortisol, it's a great tie-in with the sleep. I think a power nap 15 to 20 minutes is fine. Certainly if you do not get a good night's sleep, a power nap is critical, especially now, to imbue your immune system with a lot of enthusiasm for health. As far as the cortisol is very high in the morning when you wake up. So when your cortisol is high, you should be awake. So hopefully during the day, when your cortisol goes up, you're going to be lit, if you will. You're not going to want to go to sleep. We want to lower our cortisol so we can kind of like chill out. Those are great questions. Keep them coming. Some numbers that just came out. It was in the Lancet yesterday in infectious disease, March 30th, 2020. So they redid the numbers. You know, Dr. Fauci, who we see every day on TV, the man's brilliant. He's spoken a lot about the numbers. So here is the new number of fatalities in reference to COVID-19. 0.66 of those infected with the virus will die. It's less than 1%, because the numbers that they were releasing were numbers of people who were tested. They now are taking in a model people who they believe are positive but haven't come forth to get tested because they've been asymptomatic. Incidentally, my understanding on CNN, an anchor that I see almost every day when I turn the TV on, Chris Cuomo, my understanding is he just tested positive for COVID-19. And my mom called me before I went on, and she said she was watching him. He's in his basement, and fortunately for him, he feels really well. We talked about those that were undetected. Here are some numbers. 80 or older, the fatality rate in this study was 7.8%. Less than 9, it's 0.00161%. Less than 40, it's 0.16%. And the average, interesting, the average onset of symptoms, if you're going to get them, is 25 days. So it's not just the regular flu. I mean, most flus don't last 25 days. This is a pretty virulent, robust flu virus, if you will. In addition to that, many people are testing negative, yet still positive in their sputum and in their stool for the virus to be alive. So unfortunately, we're going to come in contact with everybody. We won't be able to be isolated all day, every day for the rest of our lives. One of the best ways to help ourselves out, maybe produce antibodies and ward off the virus, is to keep our immune system powerful and in tow. And two of the ways that we discussed today would be definitely sleep and hydration. Do we have any questions before we do it? Okay, so anybody who wants any information, feel free to put it in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. Any requests? I am here every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We put this on LinkedIn. We're always on Instagram also, which is Dr. Robert Silverman also. So any questions? We're here to update. We got a question. Great.
How do you feel about colloidal silver?
Colloidal silver is interesting in that it got a lot of conversation, but the literature wasn't where we wanted to see it. So it's not something that we use as far as the A-team. I'm not against it if you take it, but it probably wouldn't be in my first 3 to 5 that I would recommend. to boost immune system. So if I were to boost the immune system, once a boosting or supporting the immune system, whatever word we're allowed to say now, it would be all the different kinds of mushrooms, Ganoderma, shiitake, tiger tail, and the like. Still, vitamin D is a great choice. Quite exciting about the vitamin D. And let's not forget, you got to take care of your gut. It's 80% of your immune cells. And most people are truly forgetting the gut in this whole equation.